Total solar eclipse. It's an awesome sight to behold. What appears in the daytime sky is a black orb, surrounded by the sun's pink chromosphere in pulley threads at the corona. Total solar eclipses happen on a yearly basis, but only over relatively tiny portion of Earth's surface. In other words, you have to be at the right place, at the right time to see a total solar eclipse. If you've seen a total solar eclipse, you're among the privileged few. If you're close, but not exactly within the nearer path of totality, you may experience a partial solar eclipse. In that case, you'll see the sun turn into a crescent shape, as the moon passes in front of it. The sun is still amazingly bright during a partial solar eclipse. Total solar eclipse crossing the continental United States on August 21, 2017. It will be all the news when that happens. So you'll know about it, but consider traveling if you need to get to the path totality. It only lasts a few minutes, but it's a sight to behold, remember, for a lifetime. In solar eclipse you can see the sun's chromosphere, corona. During a solar eclipse the moon blocks sunlight from reaching Earth. During a lunar eclipse Earth blocks sunlight from reaching the moon. Still can't keep it straight. How about this? During a solar eclipse the sun disappears. During a lunar eclipse the moon disappears. I will explain in detail to you on both solar and lunar eclipse then. Here goes. To put things in perspective. Here's the relative size of the sun, the moon, and the Earth. The sun is about 400 times bigger than the moon. Now let's look at the actual distances between them. The sun is also about 400 times further from the Earth than the moon is. This is why the sun and Monday appear to be about the same size in the sky. So, now you know that animations on screen are not always drawn to scale. The moon's orbit is actually not a perfect circle. It's in the shape of an ellipse. When it's closest to the Earth, we call it perigee. When it's farthest away from the Earth, we call it apogee. It's only a small difference, but it's enough to cause the moon to grow and shrink as seen from the Earth. Okay, now we get into some rare events with the moon. Each time a new moon happens, there's a chance that the moon will block the sunlight and cause a shadow to appear on a portion of the Earth. When this happens it's called a solar eclipse. The reverse can also happen. Each time we have a full moon, there's a chance that the Earth will block the sunlight from reaching the moon. We call this a lunar eclipse. So, now the question is, why don't we get a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse every month? As the Earth orbits around the sun, we can map out a 2D plane that referred to as the ecliptic. The moon doesn't orbit on the same plane. It's tilted by about 5 degrees. This means that most of the time, the moon passes above or below the sun as seen from the Earth. We can map out 2 invisible points in space where the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic. We call these the lunar nodes. When they line up with the sun, Earth, and moon, that's when a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse will occur. This is referred to as an eclipse season. These happen about twice a year. During an eclipse season, there's no guarantee that you'll be able to see anything. In the case of a solar eclipse, the moon may pass slightly above or below the sun and give us a partial solar eclipse. This won't really dim the sunlight enough for us to see it. When the moon entirely crosses the sun, we will be able to see it. If the moon is closer to apogee, then it will appear smaller, and we'll get what's called an annular solar eclipse. If the moon is closer to perigee, then it will appear bigger, and we'll get what's called a total solar eclipse. Even if you're lucky enough to be on the right spot on the Earth, the longest you'll be able to see a solar eclipse is about 7 minutes. You'll need to be under the umbra, which is the darkest part of the moon's shadow. For a lunar eclipse, the Earth is the one casting the shadow. We may see a partial lunar eclipse, or a total lunar eclipse. This can be seen from anywhere on Earth where it's night, and will last for several hours. For about an hour the moon will appear red because of the sunlight bending around the Earth. This is where the term blood moon comes from. So next time someone says the word solar eclipse or lunar eclipse, You could explain it them, or just send them a link to this video. Solar eclipse is divided into several types. Number 1. The total eclipse. Total eclipse occurs when the sun disk fully closed by a disk of the moon. At that time, the moon disk is large or larger than the disk of the sun. The size of the disk of the sun and the moon disk itself varies, depending on each distance Earth-Moon and Earth-Sun. Number 2. Partial solar eclipse. A partial eclipse occurs when the disk of the moon only cover part of the sun disk. At this eclipse, there is always a part of the disk of the sun that are not covered by a disk of the moon. Number 3. Annular eclipse or ring eclipse. Annular eclipse occurs when the disk of the moon only cover part of the sun disk. This type of eclipse occurs when the size of the disk of the moon is smaller than the sun disk. Moon covers the sun's center, leaving the sun's visible outer edges to form a ring of fire or annulus around the moon. Number 4. Hybrid eclipse. A hybrid eclipse, also called annular and total eclipse, shifts between a total and annular eclipse. Hybrid eclipses are comparatively rare. At certain points on the surface of Earth it appears as a total eclipse, whereas at other points it appears as annular. That is, this eclipse is one which is seen as annular by observers in one part of the Earth, and at the same time, it is seen as a total eclipse by others in another part of the Earth. I hope you liked it and understood. Please like my video, and do subscribe my channel. Bye.